Welcome everyone. My storybook is titled The Big Bad Wolf, and it tells a different side to the Three Little Pigs story that everyone is familiar with. My story is an adaptation from a book called Revolting Rhymes, created by the genius Roald Dahl. Revolting Rhymes is a collection of fairy tales like Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, and Three Little Pigs, rewritten by Dahl in his own creative way. It is a personal story for myself, having performed the poem live at a Year 7 graduation ceremony about 30 years ago. I still know it word for word to this day, and it was my kids' favourite bedtime story while growing up. The illustrations in the Roald Dahl book were created by Quentin Blake, and they became a sounding board when it came to my own illustrations. Quentin's illustrations are crudely basic and childlike, and all his pictures are coloured in soft pastels. I intentionally went for a similar childlike quality when it came to create my own illustrations. Although my book is based on a children's story and is illustrated as a children's book, the subject material and body copy is definitely not for children's eyes. In a similar vein to the book Go the Fuck to Sleep, I really like the idea of creating a children's book for adults. And as a side note, my kids love the new story too. For the design, I tried to follow the language and tone of Dahl's original story and construct my words accordingly, but with adult themes. The end paper inside the back cover of the book has included the full story of the Three Little Pigs from Roald Dahl's book Revolting Rhymes. It fitted nicely on the page and shows the context from which my story was written. For the layout, I chose a layout with a symmetrical grid structure to keep it simple. One page is an illustration, while the other page has a 4-line verse with a background fill colour to match. These verses use the rhyming scheme AABB. The illustrations were created on white paper with pencil, then a black pen went over the outlines to make it easier to see when scanned. After scanning at 300 dpi, Photoshop was used to colour each illustration. I tried colouring using pencils, blending textures, and crayons, but the Photoshop technique made for much more professional looking pictures. For the typography, Helvetica Regular was the font used throughout for the body copy, with italics used as feature text to emphasise certain words or phrases. The use of feature text is used to make sure nuances are highlighted, like the example of cook and bake and cut and bag, which has an alliteration and assonance quality, with the repetition of short and sharp words and the repetition of the letters C and B. Helvetica was used for the body copy because I just wanted one of the text to be easily legible and suitable for a children's/adult hybrid book. The inside pages were printed on matte photo paper, which was weighted at 120 GSM. This paper created full-coloured images that were thin like a magazine. The front and back covers were printed on 240 GSM glossy photo paper. The size of the booklet is 20 cm by 25 cm and in a landscape orientation. The whole book was printed on a Brother printer at home. The book was bound using a simple book press that I made using 2 planks of wood and 2 bolts with wing nuts. The pages were carefully cut to size and placed inside the book press. To create the perfect binding, I used PVA glue to bind the book, and I used 3 separate coats. In summary, I wanted to create a children's book purely for adults that followed the overall tone and look of Roald Dahl and Quentin Blake's original story. I hope that someone familiar with the original story would be able to associate the original story with my story solely by the use of illustrations, tones and words. By telling the story from the wolf side and with the design choices I made, hopefully I have achieved this.